Welcome back to In the Midst. Today I'm going to share something a little more personal. I guess my hope is to encourage you to keep researching, reading, trying, and asking questions. Don't give up. Don't take, no or normal for an answer. And if this is something that you already know, you've already been through, then just to encourage you that you're not alone. If you are going through this process, to encourage you that you're not alone. So what am I talking about? I'm going to share with you today my personal PCOS journey. If you don't know, PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. If you clicked this link, then you probably know what that is. You might know what it is. You know someone that has it. You think you have it, or you've already been diagnosed. So with that, this is my journey. And some of the things that I went through, some of the things I was told, maybe you can relate. And like I said, just to show you and encourage you, you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things. Keep asking questions, okay? This might be kind of long. Like, I'm going to try not to rabbit trail too much, but I really just want to share what I've experienced. So with that, I guess it started back... I was 16. I didn't really get my cycle till I was 14. And then, at 15, had a baby. That changes everything. And then at 16, my cycles weren't regular anymore. I was on birth control. That's the only way I'd be regular. We weren't quite ready for another baby just yet. So I was on birth control. I really didn't know what else to do. Finished school. I graduated at 16. It was 2 months before I turned 17, and it was, I think, in January, so a month before I turned 17 or so, I stopped the birth control, and we were just like, okay, whatever. If it happens, it happens. If not, okay, either way. My husband says that we weren't trying, but we weren't trying not to. So I was having just irregular cycles, and with not trying to prevent pregnancy, we were like, man, why are we not getting pregnant? Like, what's going on? So we waited until I was about 19, 20, and we were getting ready to move to Colorado from Tennessee. So we knew, like, okay, there's gonna be lots of changes coming. We're gonna have to get doctors and insurance and all that stuff settled there. My husband was starting a brand new company, brand new career path. So our insurance was going to be changing to his new work insurance. So trying to get all that sorted and settled, plus find a house, find a church, find a school, So I made another appointment with my OBGYN here. It was actually in Chattanooga. And so I talked to them. They were some of the best. And so they were like, yeah, we need to do some testing, lots of blood work, whatever. By this time, I'd already been through the EMT program, and I'd already been through my first year of nursing prereq, so A&P, all that stuff. So I had more medical understanding of, my body, what was going on, how your hormones work, all that stuff. And so I went to them, and they did tons of blood work, tons of testing, tons of everything, and everything came back normal. So they said, let's do an ultrasound of your ovaries, make sure there's nothing wrong, and let's do a 3-hour glucose test, like the one you get when you're pregnant. Except I hadn't been pregnant long enough before to get this, so I had no idea what was going on. And my first baby was born at 26 weeks, so they don't do the glucose test till like 28 back then. This was almost 10 years ago. And so I was like, okay. So I sitting there doing my homework from college and working on my assignments because I've got to sit here for 3 hours. So they did the ultrasound on my ovaries, and the doctor said, you have a lot of follicles in your ovaries. I think I had like 10 on one side and 13 on the other, and it's supposed to be like 6 in each side. And they were like, that's a lot, which means you're not ovulating. Your eggs are not maturing. They're not releasing. You're not ovulating. This is why you're not having a period. The eggs aren't going anywhere. This is why it's harder for you to get pregnant. You're not ovulating. And I was like, okay, what do we do? And they're like, well, we don't really know yet. So we see that. the blood work that I had done already showed my testosterone was outside of the normal range, not extremely. So it wasn't enough for them to say, this is a problem. So irregular periods, not ovulating, too many follicles in my ovaries, high testosterone. That's 3 markers for PCOS. And they didn't diagnose it. They did a 3-hour glucose test. Everything was normal. There's no, unchecked diabetes that we have to worry about. And they were pretty much like, we don't really know. You can go back on birth control. We know that'll make you regular. Doesn't really help for the whole want to have baby thing. So I was like, okay, because by now my baby's like 4. And I'm like, I really want to have another baby. Like, my idea was 2 to 4 years apart. So we were ready to have a baby. And that wasn't happening. And so part of it was just, okay, I have to trust the Lord. But if there's something wrong with my body, like I want to know. So we didn't really get any answers. So we moved to Colorado, got settled, and found a new OB. And I told him, I was like, okay, this is what's happened before. This is what I know. This is what we found. Too many follicles. I don't ovulate. I don't want to be on birth control either. Like, I want to have a baby. And he said, okay, you need to take Clomid and you need to take progesterone. And so he put me on Clomid and jacked up my progesterone. I was taking like 200 milligrams for like 10 days. And ovulating, I think it was like within 6 months or so, I got pregnant. And so now, at this point, my oldest had already turned 5 or 6. They're like 6.5, 7 years apart. Just where their birthdays fall. It's, so we were like, okay, here we go. So we're finally, having a baby, and had her. I have an incompetent cervix. So they're doing progesterone shots every week. All that. And then after you have a baby, if you're not trying to have a baby, nobody checks your cervix anymore. Nobody asks about your periods. Nobody cares about your ovaries. So I'm still irregular. I went on birth control for just a little bit after her, just taking the pill for a few months. We were deciding, do we want to have a third? We always said 2. My body's not really handling this well. I don't stay pregnant. So my first was born at 26 weeks, and my second, Natalie, stop. And my second was born at 35. So I almost went into labor at 22 weeks with my second. So my body does not stay pregnant. Incompetent cervix is the only real diagnosis I've had. Like, they just don't really know why. Even taking progesterone, putting in a cerclage, all that stuff. But I'm still irregular. So we had, really felt like we had peace about, okay, we don't need to have a third. We wanted a boy and then a girl. And God gave us a boy and then a girl, 2 healthy preemies. We're going to take our blessings. We're going to be happy. We're not going to do this again. So, and I was okay with that. I mean, my oldest is 7. Now I have this baby. We've completely started over. Go get the garbage can. I was thinking that. And so we were like, okay, we're done. We're okay. So no big deal. And then we, found 2 years ago in 2020 that I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And so when my baby was a year, I actually had my fallopian tubes removed. My doctor would not do a hysterectomy. He said there was no reason, all that. Still having irregular periods. I'd actually developed a cyst. I'm at a 3-centimeter cyst that was quite a pain, but there wasn't a lot of concern. My doctor said as long as I'm not going 4 months or more without a cycle, then medically it's not a big deal. Even though my hormones and the hormone drops I was having put me in a fibro flare, affects my fibro, all that, they just said, you can go on birth control. I don't need birth control. I don't want to go on birth control. So he retired. And my next appointment was with the NP. Hadn't seen her before. She was great. And so I'm telling her what's going on. And she said, no, we're not just going to say that's medically okay. I mean, it is, but no, we need to see if something's going wrong. So she sent me to do another ultrasound. And I was like, okay, well, in the past, this is what we have found on the ultrasound. So she wanted an ultrasound of my uterus and my cervix, or my uterus and my ovaries. And I said, okay. So I go to that, and the ultrasound tech, normally they don't say much. they're not doctors. They don't diagnose. They let the doctor tell you what's going on. That little ultrasound lady was like, do you have PCOS? And I was like, I don't think so. But by the way you said that, I probably do because, wow. She's like, I've been doing this a long time. I will let the doctor talk to you. And I was like, okay. So I go in, wait for the doctor to come in. And he was like, what are we going on? What are we looking for? Why is there a small portion of your cervix missing? So we talked about the cerclage, preemie babies, no fallopian tubes, all that stuff. And he looked at my ovaries and he said, did you know that you have polycystic ovarian syndrome? Or how long have you had polycystic ovarian syndrome? Something like that. Just very matter-of-factly. And I was like, where are you going? She's not home. And I was like, I didn't know. Like, what are you talking about? And he was like, tell me what's going on with your cycles. So I did. And he was like, what are we doing about this? And I was like, well, really, like, I take progesterone, a small dose, 10, 20 milligrams, 10 days a month. Not even every month, just kind of as needed kind of thing. And he was like, okay, no. You have PCOS. We need to handle the PCOS. And I was like, okay. So I got that official diagnosis. So it took almost 10 years of going to the doctor, being told my blood work is normal, being told that it's medically okay to miss 3 months of a cycle. The only real help was birth control, that they didn't know why this was happening and all this stuff. So if this is something that you're dealing with, I just want you to know there could be answers. Keep pushing, keep asking questions, keep going. I know going to the doctor is frustrating. I know asking questions, feeling like you're getting nowhere. Being told everything is normal, I know it's frustrating. But if you know you really feel like something is wrong, maybe you have to change providers, which is a huge pain. But that might be where your answer is. So this doctor told me that, yes, this is what you have. He said the problem is that you've never been diagnosed because you don't have acne and you're not overweight. You don't have to have all, 7 or whatever markers to be diagnosed. My ovaries, he said, if you look at them, and he had the scan in front of him, it looks like you took a pearl bracelet and laid it around the outside of my ovaries. He said this is called string of pearls syndrome. This is textbook PCOS. So that was, my hair falls out constantly. My testosterone is always high. My ovaries have the follicles. I had trouble getting pregnant because my cycles aren't normal. I don't ovulate. These are markers for PCOS. That is enough. Okay, you don't have to have all of them. Some providers won't diagnose unless you have 3. That's the normal standard medical world diagnosis. That is not necessary, okay? So just keep asking questions. No, you're not alone. Yes, that infertility is real. There could be a reason. All of that. So I don't really know for sure why I felt led to share this, to give this random health update. If you feel led to pray for me, that would be, definitely appreciated, because it does affect my fibromyalgia, which gives me flares and headaches, migraines, nausea, crazy fatigue, stuff like that. But I guess just know that getting a diagnosis isn't always easy. But it's okay to keep pushing, keep asking. It's okay to change doctors. It's okay to read and research for yourself and say, I want you to look at this. I want this test ran. I want this blood work checked. I do that with my husband's endocrinologist, who is amazing. And he has Hashimoto's disease. So there's, a few, like last year, I was like, I want you to do another ANA panel. Let's make sure nothing else is going on. And she said, okay, no big deal. So it's okay to ask those questions. And I tell these doctors all the time, look, we don't have 4 hours for me to sit here with you and just talk this through. So I am left to my own devices. I am left to read and research and Google and, put together the pieces that I can. And then I come to you and say, okay, let's sort through this. Am I right? Am I wrong? Do you see what's going on? Is there something we can do? Are these related? Especially with fibro, because it's not the same for every person. So just keep going. Some of you have PCOS. It's already been diagnosed. You're going through that struggle. You are not alone. Okay. So just keep praying, keep researching, keep looking, keep asking questions, keep asking for blood work, change doctors if you need to. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be in charge of your health and to ask the questions and to say, I want you to look at this. And, you know, you get that blood work back, and normally it shows you what the range is, and then it shows you where your numbers are. If something is clearly high or clearly low, ask them, why are you telling me this is negative or this is normal when this number is, you know, 1.5 and you said it shouldn't be over 0.8, you know, whatever it is. Ask them to clearly explain this and say, this shows it's outside of the normal range. Why are you telling me it's normal? So don't be afraid to take charge and ask those questions, you know. So I don't know who this is for or where this is going to go or why I felt like I should share this, but hopefully this is going to help and encourage someone. So until next time, stay in the Word, stay close to the shepherd, and let him lead you in paths of righteousness.